Welcome to this explainer. We usually think of history as this long, continuous timeline, right? Just marching straight forward. But today, we're going to flip that entirely. We're going to take one single date and slice it vertically through the centuries to see what kind of crazy patterns pop out. Our target? August 20th. Let's dive in and see why this specific day totally changed history. So, August 20th. It's the 232nd day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. Well, 233rd if it's a leap year, but you get the idea. On the surface, it feels like just another sleepy, late summer day, right? You're probably trying to squeeze in that last vacation, buying back to school stuff, maybe just trying to beat the heat. But if we dig a little deeper, the historical weight of this day is absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking about a day where empires literally crumbled, massive scientific breakthroughs were launched, and the modern world as we know it was completely reshaped. Which brings us to a really fun thought experiment. Can one single day on the calendar actually change the world? I mean, when we pin down August 20th and really look back through time, we see some of humanity's highest highs and, frankly, our lowest lows, all jammed into this one specific 24-hour window. Section 1, Science and the Cosmos. It's wild to think about, but in just over a century, August 20th saw us totally redefine biological life back in 1858, figure out nuclear marine propulsion with the maiden voyage of the NS Savannah in 1962, and then, get this, literally leave our planet entirely in the 1970s. It's like a fast-forward button for human progress. Actually, let's back up a second. It really started by looking inward. On August 20, 1858, the foundational text of modern biology was basically handed to the world. Charles Darwin published his theory of evolution through natural selection, and he did it right alongside Alfred Russel Wallace's parallel theory. In a single day, that publication fundamentally flipped how humanity understood our own existence and our connection to the natural world, a real game changer. But we didn't just look inward, we looked way, way out. Jump to 1975, and NASA launches the Viking 1 planetary probe toward Mars, kicking off a whole new era of planetary exploration. And then, exactly 2 years later, August 20, 1977, they launched the Voyager 2 spacecraft. Both of these monumental leaps into the unknown share the exact same birthday. Just think about that for a second. Voyager 2 is literally out in interstellar space right now, acting as humanity's farthest messenger, and the whole shebang started on this very day. Section 2, Empires Rise and Fall. Way back on August 20, 636, Arab forces defeated the massive Byzantine Empire at the Battle of Yarmouk. This was huge. It marked the first great wave of Muslim conquests and completely shifted control of the Levant. Now, fast forward over 1,300 years to 1991, and a completely different kind of fall was happening. We're talking over 100,000 people rallying outside the Soviet Union's parliament building in Moscow, protesting a coup aimed at taking down President Mikhail Gorbachev. Two massive, world-altering empire shifts, centuries apart, happening on the exact same calendar day. No way, right? But hey, it's not just about empires falling. It's also about nations being born. Check this out. On this date in 1949, Hungary adopted a new constitution to become a people's republic. Then, in 1960, Senegal broke away from the Mali Federation and declared its independence. And right in the middle of those 1991 Soviet protests we were just talking about, Estonia courageously issued a decision to reestablish its own independence. So for millions of people around the globe, August 20th is deeply, deeply woven into their national DNA. Of course, the pendulum of history swings both ways, doesn't it? As impartial observers, we have to note that on this day in 1968, the brief period of political liberalization, known as the Prague Spring, came to an incredibly abrupt and sobering end when Warsaw Pact troops invaded Czechoslovakia. It's a pretty striking reminder that this date hosts both the massive expansion of freedom and its sudden suppression. Section 3, Conflict and Resolution. Right in the thick of World War II, on August 20, 1940, the entire world was basically holding its breath. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill stood before the House of Commons and delivered a speech that would literally echo through history. He said, "Never was so much owed by so many to so few." It's such a chilling, galvanizing quote that perfectly captures the intense gravity that seems to just hang over this specific day. Going back a bit further to 1794, this date also marks a devastating turning point for native sovereignty in North America. At the Battle of Fallen Timbers, United States troops forced a disorganized retreat on a really massive alliance of indigenous warriors. We're talking the Shawnee, Mingo, Delaware, Wyandot, Miami, Ottawa, Chippewa, and Potawatomi. This one clash permanently altered territorial control in the entire region. And, looking at the facts neutrally here, this state has also been a frequent lightning rod for targeted political action and retaliation. In 1940, exiled Russian revolutionary Leon Trotsky was fatally wounded with an ice axe in Mexico City. Then, decades later, on August 20th, 1998, the U.S. launched cruise missile strikes against alleged al-Qaeda camps in Afghanistan and a suspected chemical weapons plant in Sudan in direct retaliation for embassy bombings that happened weeks prior. Calculated strikes echoing across completely different eras of modern history. Yet for all that conflict, August 20th holds this incredible duality, because it's also about the pursuit of peace. In 1940, it marked a massive escalation in World War II, with the 8th Root Army launching the 100 Regiments Offensive in China. But then jump to August 20, 1988, and we see a long-awaited cessation of violence, a formal ceasefire that finally ended almost 8 grueling years of the Iran-Iraq War. It's wild to think the exact same day holds both the ignition of major wars and the ink of peace treaties. Section 4. The weight of history. So, beyond all those heavy battlefields and geopolitical shifts, August 20th also gave birth to so many everyday institutions that totally define our modern lives. Back in 1882, Tchaikovsky's legendary 1812 overture debuted in Moscow. If you've ever jammed out to a radio broadcast, you have this date to thank, because the very first commercial radio station, 8MK, began operations in Detroit in 1920. And, incredibly, on that exact same day in 1920, the National Football League was organized in Canton, Ohio. Fast forward a few years to 1926, and Japan established NHK, their massive public broadcasting company. From the music in our headphones to the Sunday sports we watch, the cultural DNA of August 20th is literally everywhere. After seeing how much triumph, conflict, and sheer progress can be packed into a single rotation of the Earth on August 20th, it kind of fundamentally changes how you view the calendar, doesn't it? The cosmos is still expanding, culture is still evolving, and history is being written this very second. So as you go about your day-to-day, you really gotta ask yourself, what world-altering event is happening right now completely unnoticed, just waiting to become history?